People, we are a week away from Joseph Parker versus Fabio Wardley, a fight in which I think promises drama, if nothing else. It's going to have some drama, it's going to have some fun to it, and I personally think it's going to be a really, really good affair. I think that whoever wins, they won't... I'll give you an example. If Wardley wins, he won't have an easy time winning, and vice versa for Joseph Parker. I think whoever wins this fight is going to have to really take the initiative, and they're really going to have to probably come through a crisis at some point in this fight. Fabio Wardley even predicted that in the face-off that he did with Joseph Parker, which is on DAZN. It'll be up on YouTube the next day or so, saying that there's going to be moments in this fight where both guys are going to have their moments and both guys are going to have to really show something. I think both guys have done that throughout the course of their career. Joseph Parker at times has been found wanting in that department, but lately over the last few years with Andy Lee, I think there's been a kind of a switch that's finally gone off in his head where he is shown a lot more resolve. I think he is shown a lot more dog in him. At the end of the day, both these guys are quite nice. They're very nice men. They're both of them. They're very respectful. They're guys in which if you met them in a pub, you'd want to buy them a drink. You know, they don't come across as, egotistical or narcissistic or anything like that. Of course, I'm sure they have confidence in themselves, but they come across as two very, very good men. That's the best way I could describe very good men. But in the ring, it's kill or be killed. They know what they have to do. And in this video, this isn't a prediction video, okay? That video is probably going to go out on Monday. But this video is why I feel Joseph Parker wins. As I've done many of these videos, I've done them for Fury Usyk, I've done them for Joshua Usyk. I think I didn't do them for the first, I did them for the second fight. I've done them for many big fights as to why I think Fighter A will beat Fighter B. And of course, I follow it up with why I think Fighter B will defeat Fighter A. So although this is one where I feel Joseph Parker wins, as in this is the title of the video, I'll be doing one that will go out tomorrow on why I think Fabio Wardley wins. Make no mistake about that. But we have to talk about the weaknesses of Fabio Wardley and the strengths of Joseph Parker, of which I think he has many, and of which I think he can actually exploit in this fight. So, what we're going to do, and a massive thank you to DAZN for giving me the footage and allowing me to use it, it's greatly appreciated. We're going to look at some of Fabio Wardley's past fights, not just the Ihuni fight, which is the fight that a lot of people bring up because it's his most recent performance, and while he did win with a spectacular 10th round knockout, it was a very, very difficult fight, to say the least. But Fabio Wardley, it's remarkable, because it really is, that this is a guy who, when Joseph Parker was winning his first world title nearly 10 years ago now, he essentially was fighting white-collar boxing. And white-collar boxing is not like, look, you could be an Anthony Yard and have very few amateur fights, which Sunday Ajayi, even now he's in his mid-30s, still loves to tell people. He had very few amateur fights. Do you know that? Never would have guessed it. But amateur is one thing. It's still, you are still fighting said boxer. White-collar is literally Fabio Wardley versus, Mick from IT. It's literally like, Natasha from customer service versus Nicola from accounts. That's what it's like. That's literally what it's like. And that's where Fabio Wardley came from. So to look as polished as he does, there are still, there's definitely issues there. Not issues, probably that's the wrong word. But you can see when he's in there with guys who are better schooled than him, the lack of schooling. But it hasn't really mattered thus far. It may very well matter against Joseph Parker because he's better than the Nick Webbs of the world. He's much better than the Nathan Gormans and in better shape as well. And he's also better, in my opinion, than the Justice Unis. Probably ever will be. No disrespect. So let's have a look on screen. Now, we're going to go back roughly about 3 years, thereabouts. And we're going to have a look at some of the issues in the very first round, right? The Fabio Wardley, I still don't think he's ever fully addressed. Because I noticed it come up again against Justice Ihuni, and we will see that now in a wee bit. But let's have a look-see on screen right here. This is the Nick Webb fight. First round. Now, Wardley did end up stopping Webb in the second round. He just outmanned them. But let's just have a quick look here, right? He's holding that jab out. But look at Nick Webb. Not Nick Webb, Nathan Gorman, I should say. I hope I didn't say Nick Webb too much there. But look at Nathan Gorman. Look at that jab. Put Fabio Wardley off balance. Big uppercut lands as well. That was a good uppercut. And that jab is getting through. Now, this is a Nathan Gorman who is very out of shape in this fight. But look at the success he's having. Fabio Wardley, right? It's a very basic form of defense, just hands up. Hands up, don't move your head, and just kind of hope you can parry them on the gloves. Nathan Gorman was well schooled as an amateur. I think he was on Team GB, but he was very, very well schooled. So he knows, okay, well, the guard's not that tight. I have an uppercut. There you go, have some of that. Now, ultimately, it counted for nothing. But nevertheless, he was still able to land plenty with the jab and plenty with the uppercut in the first round. It was really when Fabio Wardley came out, and the best way to say it is the red mist descended on Fabio Wardley, where he just saw red and just decided, you're next. It's you have chosen death. That's literally what Fabio Wardley saw in the next round. He went in there and he absolutely beat the crap out of Nick Webb and stopped him in the second round. Nick Webb, I keep saying Nick Webb, Nathan Gorman. He absolutely beat the crap out of Nathan Gorman and stopped him in the second round. But you see the limitations there as a fighter. Now, that was a couple of years ago, it has to be said. He is now with Ben Davison. So you think, okay, have the limitations gone? Let's look specifically at round number 7 in his fight against Justis Ihuni. And this is another reason why I think Joseph Parker wins in this said video. Is Fabio Wardley is a 31-year-old who is somewhat well preserved. He's never really taken any serious punishment in his career, although the Fraser Clark fight was particularly hard, the first fight. He took a lot more punches than I remember, and a lot more serious punches as well, in that fight against Justis Ihuni, which is not that long ago, people. Let's have a quick look on screen right here. So, this is round 6. Brings it into round 7, which is a round in which Justis Ihuni really dominated. Look at that, straight right hand. And I think that did buzz Fabio Wardley ever so slightly there. And Fabio Wardley trying to get those shots off, but, Justis Ihuni is very cute, great head movement, right? Able to see the shots coming. Fabio Wardley with that low left hand, you don't want to be doing that. And look at that, more shots going in here now in round 7. He did look hurt again there, did Fabio Wardley. And again, taking some big shots in here against Justis Ihuni. He's lucky Justis Ihuni's never been a puncher. Never been a particularly big puncher. Very lucky for that reason, because he's very opened. And that jab is a decent jab from Fabio Wardley, it has to be said, but there's nothing on some of these shots. He's really struggling when a guy's giving him a bit of lateral movement. He's taking his head off centre line as Justis Ihuni. And Wardley is really struggling there. Like, he's trying his best to, get some shots off, but you can see the schooling, the much, much better schooling. It's another right hand that goes in there. Look at that, some lovely work from Justis Ihuni here in round number 7. He's really bossing this round, isn't he? He's really putting it on Fabio Wardley big time in this round. And Fabio Wardley, let's be frank, if you listen to the commentary, they're even saying it. Fabio Wardley took a beating in that round. He took a shellacking in round number 7. He really, truly did. Another jab goes in there from Justis Ihuni. There's not really anything there from Fabio Wardley. Very looking laboured in his attacks, and not really setting them up. He already looks a bit unsteady on his feet as well. And look at that, more shots go in as the bell comes to end round number 7. So that's another example of when Fabio Wardley has stepped up and he's fought someone who's well schooled. He's been there, seen it and done it. And unlike Nathan Gorman, said the name right this time, unlike Nathan Gorman, Justis Ihuni is better than he'll ever hope to be. He's more consistent. He's just better all round than Nathan Gorman could ever hope to be. And you saw the issues. I mean, Carl Frampton's scorecard was a little bit out there. You see the start at round number 6. I think Fabio Wardley won the first round and maybe one other round in that fight before the 10th round stoppage. He was really getting handled handily. And the reason why I say he's lucky that Fabio Wardley, or he's lucky that Justis Ihuni wasn't a puncher, is because Joseph Parker is not Zhilei Zhang. He's not Anthony Joshua. He's not a prime Deontay Wilder in terms of punching power. The punching power that those guys bring to the table is phenomenal. It really is. Zhilei Zhang can knock you out with either hand. He's got the best left hand, in my opinion, in the heavyweight division. Deontay Wilder in his prime, when he let that right hand go, it was devastating, to say the least. It really, truly was. Anthony Joshua, likewise, good single shots, good shots up close, throws crisp combinations, very good puncher. There's plenty of big punchers. Fabio Wardley, very strong puncher with the right hand. So there's good punchers in the heavyweight division. Joseph Parker is not someone who necessarily comes to mind when you hear of, big heavyweight punchers. But he has respectable power there. Very respectable. And if Fabio Wardley is, not being, I'm sure he was hurt. I'm sure those shots from Justis Ihuni didn't tickle. But if he's being backed up by those shots and he's being hit as consistently with shots from someone like a Justice Ihuni, what happens if Joseph Parker lands this? Have a look there on screen. Boom. Now look, you gotta take it in context. All right, that was a Martin Bakole who was coming in off 48 hours notice. He looks as fat as anything there. Probably hasn't taken a punch in 6 months. I get it. And obviously, referee waves it off. But look at that. Boom. Just lands on the top of the head. We're talking about a much bigger Joseph Parker in terms of weight. And it seems to me he's packed a lot of weight on the shoulders. And for those who, follow boxing and follow it religiously, a lot of people say if you can really pack it on the shoulders. I remember reading about Max Baer, who was a fighter in the 1930s. He used to carry, was it fish or something? He used to work for a butcher or something like that. And it built up his shoulder muscles. So they spoke about how, one of the reasons they think he was able to generate so much power, because Max Baer was a monstrous puncher in the 1930s, was because he had those big, broad shoulders. He can just crank it in. And I think Parker has that type of power. I think he has enough power that if he lands on Fabio Wardley as clean as he landed on Martin Bakole, or as clean as Justice Ihuni was landed on, quite frankly, Fabio Wardley is going to be in all sorts of trouble. He really will. So for me, this is a Fabio Wardley who needs to be sharp defensively, which he's not Pernell Whitaker, but at the same time, he's not Dave Allen, who's just going to tuck up and be like, hit me, see what you can do. He's not going to do that. But I think he needs to be a bit more cute defensively. And in terms of punchers, would I say he's the biggest puncher he's been in the ring with? Maybe. Because I look at Fabio Wardley's resume, I don't have it in front of me right here. But I just think, okay, Nick Webb can punch a bit, decent power. Gorman couldn't really. Molina had a bit of decent punching power, but he had no heart whatsoever to speak of. Joseph Parker is probably, Fraser Clark, never noted for having, particularly devastating punching power. Joseph Parker is probably the biggest puncher he's been in the ring with. And if he's getting stunned at the very least against guys like Justice Ihuni, who I don't consider a world-class puncher by no stretch of the imagination, shots don't tickle, but, I'd say Alexander Usyk probably hits harder. He could find himself in big trouble in there. So these are my reasons as to why I think Joseph Parker defeats Fabio Wardley. But again, I have to say that's not necessarily my pick. And tomorrow, I'll release a video on why I feel Fabio Wardley beats Joseph Parker, because I think he has strengths there. He certainly does. And Joseph Parker has weaknesses that I think Fabio Wardley can exploit. So stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed this video. And until next time, people, I will leave it there. If you could, I meant to ask at the start, I forgot to, smash the like button, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. We want to get 27k. Hopefully this goes a big way to getting us there. We're nearly there now anyway. We don't need that many more, but hopefully this gets us over the line. Until next time, people,